Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome to Elevating Your Life. And oh my gosh, I am just so excited to share with my amazing guests with all of you. This is going to be so fun. We have with us today Adrian Emery. He is an author, entrepreneur, business owner, environmentalist, and keen gardener. Adrian has devoted his life to creating a new philosophy called LifeWorks, based on understanding the laws, principles, and codes that make life work easily, effortlessly, and successfully. Life is a gift, and we are here to enjoy life and be successful. It is our birthright. Adrian founded several successful health vegetarian cafes and restaurants in Australia during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, then publishing the book, The Art of Nourishment, which encapsulated the ideas, philosophy, and recipes developed in the concept of cooking with love. He became a management consultant, specializing in executive mentoring, teaching others how to build businesses based on spiritual principles and harmonious team structures. I love that. His premise is that a happy employee is a productive employee, and that culture precedes performance. In 2010, he was awarded the Customer Service CEO of the Year award for bringing customer service excellence to the strata industry, where he co-built a multi-million-dollar national company with 11 offices and 180 employees. He is also a gifted personal counselor and coach, having developed a coaching modality called TaoTuning. Adrian is now retired to Sennikatan, a spectacular garden built over the last 50 years. With his partner, Marianne, he has also created Rustic Spirit, a spiritual retreat for guests to come and experience the stillness. Oh, I bet that retreat's awesome. First off, welcome, Adrian. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paula. Lovely to meet you, and hello to all of your guests.
Oh,
beautiful to be here.
So happy to have you with us today. Gosh. Well, first off, if there's any other of your background you'd like to share, or I would.
No, I think you did a marvelous job covering that. You will get going and see where the conversation leads us.
I love it. I love it. First off, because having been a restaurant owner, I have to say I just love that you own these restaurants. If you'd like to take a few minutes to talk about kind of what that was like for you and what joy that brought you in doing that and the customer service business.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting. It was a fascinating journey, and I loved every minute of it. And the reason that it was very interesting, Paula, was that I was genuinely motivated to bring good, wholesome, healthy food to my customers. But I very quickly realized, because I'm quite sensitive, that I could see, and this was before any of like Water for Chocolate or the concept of cooking with love or any of that stuff, I could actually see physically that our energy was going into the food. And being an ex-restaurateur, you know that kitchens can be a bit of a pecking order, and there can be a lot of tension, particularly when it's busy and you're in the middle of service. And I thought, wow, this is no good. We're using all these really good, healthy physical ingredients, but so I realized that I had to totally focus on creating a harmonious team, that we needed to be working, whether you want to use the word love, but certainly in joy and positive energy and putting our energy. At the same time, I did learn that in the Zen monasteries in ancient China, and that they only let the highest monks into the kitchen because they realized that that their vibration went into the food. So I knew I was onto something. So I really then, that led me, I've always said to everybody that my kitchens, because I ended up with a few cafes and restaurants, that my kitchens were my laboratories of learning how to get people to work harmoniously, creatively, and in unison. And so that was the beginning of my whole journey, because I think that working together creatively, harmoniously is the key that humanity needs in order to make this transition, to a better society.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting and very enjoyable journey.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Tell us a little bit about your philosophy that you call LifeWorks. What is that?
Okay. Well, from a very early age, again, I could see that from my perception, without being critical, that I didn't really believe that life was working for the individual. I used to look, and I'm talking about very young. I mean, I'm talking about 3, 4, 5, certainly pre-teen years. And I would look at each of my parents' friends when they were coming for parties or whatever, and trying to find a role model, or what I call a paradigm, that I could think, wow, that's a good attitude to life. And I couldn't find one. And I knew that if one wanted to build a better car, like Elon Musk, for example, one needed to learn how cars were built in order to make a better one. So I set myself the goal of studying society. I studied all religions, philosophies, cultures, in order to find out, okay, how does life work and how can I create a better world? And so I ended up, this took many, many years, of creating a philosophy that I call LifeWorks. Because again, going back to what we were talking about in the early 70s, I realized that it was easy to be a mystic and it was easy to be a capitalist. But I wanted to be a capitalistic mystic or a mystical capitalist, meaning I wanted a spirituality that worked, that was pragmatic, that was practical, and that helped people enjoy and live a better life. I didn't want a religion or a spirituality that talked about the hereafter, or that you had to have pain and suffering and penance. I wanted something that was very pragmatic, because I really believed that life is a joy and that everything has principles of how it works. But in our education system, if you think about it, you've never attended a course called Life 101. We are not taught how life works. We are not taught the principles of life. We are not taught the mechanics and the metaphysics. So that's what my life has been 100% devoted to, in terms of me figuring out, understanding, and then writing now about. And so that's why I'm calling it a new philosophy. And the basis is that life does work. If we look at the stars, if we look at the nature, if we look at from the microscope to the telescope, everywhere life works abundantly. And it's only humanity that seems to be caught in this, process of that life is hard, or that life is a suffering, or that life is a penance. And so LifeWorks is becoming accomplished at living one's life well, meaning being happy, being successful, being joyous. It's not about fame and fortune. It's not about, I have to work hard to achieve. It's that life is a gift, and we are here to enjoy and appreciate that gift.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful, Adrian. And something you've said that I just love. Every moment of every day, we are creating present and our future. The only question is whether we are doing this knowingly and consciously, or unknowingly and unconsciously. That is a fascinating statement.
Okay, so there are two gifts. And once again, I always preface this by saying I am not here to be an evangelist or talk to people about their religion or their spirituality. I don't think we need to do that. I think that's a very private affair. But we do need to study life. We need to understand life. So there are two gifts. One is the gift of life, and the second is the gift of free will choice, with which we can create whatever we want. So life is a blank canvas. You, me, every single individual gets to create 100% what they choose with their life. That quote that you just read, the only difference, and we're all doing that all the time. It's not as if, I am going to get to a point of spiritual evolution where I start creating my life. We are all doing it every minute of with what I call conscious awareness. Or are you doing it unconsciously, in ignorance and not really knowing what you're doing. So, for example, if I'm putting out a lot of fear or a lot of trepidation or a lot of worry, I am still creating via that emotion. So the gift is the gift of free will, and it's very, very important to understand and accept that with the gift of life, so you can create whatever you want. And obviously you would want to create a life that is happy, successful, harmonious, and joyous. I mean, nobody really wants to create a life that is difficult. And that's where the concept of flow comes in, because we all know when something works. We know when our cars work, we know when our computers work, we know when our phones work, we all know when it's not working. It's the same with our lives. I think the only difference, and coming back to LifeWorks, what's different about my philosophy is that I believe living life is a skill, and like any skill, you can learn it, you can get good at it, and you can therefore become better at living your life, which is not only good for you, it's also good for everybody else, because nobody likes a grump, nobody likes a dependent, nobody likes a victim, you know. So if every single human being on the planet was creating heaven on earth, imagine how
Oh,
beautiful it would be.
yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, tell us about your new book, TaoTuning, The Art of Flow. Tell us about
Okay,
it. What is that?
okay. So as you mentioned, I did my first book back in '95, which was The Art of Nourishment, which was what I learned out of my restaurant years. Then at the beginning of then I started creating a trilogy, which is called The Temple of Understanding. And in that trilogy, there are 3 books. The first is Personal Sovereignty. Personal sovereignty is all about the ability to be sovereign, the ability to make your own decisions. Because if we go back to this concept of LifeWorks, the first thing that I need to know is who I am. Who am I in my core? And what do I want to create? So if you think of any artist, I mean, great artist, composer, musician, whatever, it's what do you want to create? What do you want to paint? What's the picture that you want to create in your life? What good do you want to do? So personal sovereignty is all about being able to go within, know who you are, and make your own sovereign decisions, because many, many people cannot do that. When they need to make a decision, they will go and ask other people, or they will do it according to a tradition or some ideology. So personal sovereignty is the ability to make decisions that are right for you. But once you've made those decisions, once you know where you're going, what your destination is, then you need to know how to do it, how to get there. So TaoTuning is, as I said before, the ability, it's the nuts and bolts, it's the mechanics and the mechanism of how life works. If this is a skill, as I'm saying, then we need to learn. And, think of anything, whether you're typing, whether you're driving a car, where you're doing a Zoom session, we all need to learn how to use, manipulate the tools, the equipment that we have. Life is exactly the same. So TaoTuning is a very practical manual and goes into a lot of detail on how does life work, and how do I, as a human being, optimize my life?
Oh, wow. Wow. So, did, with optimizing our life, is that like becoming in harmony and
Yes.
just being able to improve our life just in
Yeah,
being
look,
in
I
that
think
harmony?
I'd like to say that, and I can only speak for myself, but my goal is in every moment and in every day to become and to be a better version of myself. So if you think of an elite sports person, and we talk about a personal best being, run a mile in so many minutes or whatever it is that your personal best is. And, elite athletes especially the Olympics has just finished. People talk about, an athlete's personal best, but we don't talk about our personal best spiritually, psychologically, psychically. So my goal is to be a better version of myself. at each moment, each day when I wake up, I want to create a better day today than yesterday. I want to be a better version of myself. Now, when I say better, I need to put that in inverted commas because I'm not using the word better in any moral or ethical or according to any tradition, but just I want to be able to express my inner truth more wholesomely, more holistically, more joyously, more creatively. That truth has to come out of me, and that's why personal sovereignty is so important. But to come back to your question, yes, so I need to be able to live my life in harmony with my inner truth, but also in harmony with universal truth. So there are universal laws. As I mentioned before, if we look in the sky, if we look at nature, life does work. So it seemed pretty obvious to me, and we're going back to a very, very young child. If life is working everywhere, all I really need to do is figure out how it works, attune, and that's why the word tuning came in, attune myself to those principles. So let's look at. So basically, I like to say that TaoTuning is learning the road rules of life on planet Earth. If you get in your car and you disobey all the road rules and drive down the wrong side of the road and just put your foot on the accelerator, you're going to have an accident. Fair enough? If you go charging through red lights and don't obey the road rules, sooner or later you will have a collision. So to me, life is exactly the same. My vehicle is this body, which allows me access to planet Earth, and the road rules are planet Earth. So having a physical existence on planet Earth demands that I learn to live that properly, to follow those rules. Now, these rules are not prescriptive rules, and there's no God somewhere saying, these are the 10 commandments. It's just a description of how life works as a human being on planet Earth. If I attune to those rules, if I understand them and implement them, it's just like driving conscientiously, safely, getting to my destination and not creating road rage for others.
Yeah, I love it. I love your analogy. I've always said my physical body is this life's vehicle.
Yeah.
It's just going down the road.
Yeah. So just let me take up on that point. What I like to say is not only that vehicle, your body, this body, my body, everybody's body, it's your passport. So if you think about if you want to travel outside of America, you need a passport, right? You need a visa if you're going to go to any sort of external travel. Without that passport, you can't travel. So not only is your body your vehicle while you're here, it's also your passport, because think about it, if you don't have a physical body, you can't be here, right?
Yeah.
So once you lose your body, that's your right, access, whatever word you want to use. I like to use the word passport because, I like analogies. And I think that makes it really clear to people, your body is your passport to being on planet Earth. You lose your passport, you lose your life, you're gone. You don't need to get into reincarnation or life after death or any of that stuff, because it's not relevant to what I'm talking about, which is let's focus on living our lives well while we're here, rather than focusing on, what's going to happen when I die or anything else. What's the point of knowing all that if you don't know how to drive well,
Yes. Yes. So for someone that may be thinking, okay, I want to live well, I want to take those steps, what would one thing be that they could start doing today?
Okay,
Something they
very
think
good.
about, something they do?
Yeah, very simple question. Great question. And it is. And I like to keep it simple. So the first thing and the most important thing is what I call being now. So unfortunately, human beings, now the human mind we spend most of our time, most of our neurological mental time, either in the past or in the future, or being somewhere where we are not. So, for example, I might be at work thinking about, oh, what am I going to do when I get home? What's on television tonight? What am I going to have for dinner? So we need to learn to focus on the present, to be here now. I call it being now, which means that the moment, this moment, because if we go back to the concept that life is a gift, that gift only exists right now, right here, right now. And if you are focused, in other words, if I am totally focused on this conversation with you, if I am totally focused on whatever I am doing, then and only then can I really commit to that and enjoy it. So if you think about going back, because I know we share restaurateurship or experience, if you think about it, if you're really enjoying something, now that might be a piece of music, it could be reading a novel, it might be watching television, it could be sitting by the sea, it doesn't really matter. But if you're really enjoying it, it means you're focused, and vice versa. You need to be focused, totally attentive, totally aware on what you are doing in the present. Sorry, it doesn't have to actually be doing, just being there too. So the first and most important step is to learn to stop, because in this society, we are so focused on going somewhere, on our to-do list, on achieving, on whatever it is, that we miss every single moment because we're always living in the next moment. Where have I got to go to? Where have I got to get to? What do I need to achieve? Oh my God, all these things. And so the to-do list, whether you write it out or not, has absolutely taken over our lives, and we have become human doings rather than human beings.
Yeah.
So one must practice being. Very simple to do. Many, many times a day, just stop. When you're having that morning cup of coffee, just stop and enjoy it and taste it and smell the aroma and really take it in. If you're walking to work and you go through a park, stop and just breathe it in. So I try to consciously give myself as many moments as I can in a day of beingness and looking for the beauty of life or nature or a sunrise or a sunset or a loved one. Again, stop and gaze into the face of a loved one, whether that's a child or a partner or whatever. But how we just take things for granted. And so what I'm saying is that we're never really present, we're never really focused, and we're always on the go. We need to stop that, because the on-off switch in our minds has become jammed on. We've lost that ability to turn it off and just be. And we need, so the step number one, and I'm sorry to tell people, you cannot, it's like go back to go, you can't go past this step of learning to be. But it's very simple. You don't need to learn to meditate. You don't need to join an cult. You don't need to go and do yoga or do anything, but you do need to consciously slow the breathing down and just stop and look. And it doesn't matter where you are. If you just stop and look and perceive, take in what is around you,
Yeah.
you will find a spontaneous joy arising without you having to consciously make it happen. So stopping is the number one departure. So if I go back to time, and this one here is space, where they intersect is eternity, is now. Now is the intersection of space and time. So I need to be now, meaning not in the past, not in the future, not somewhere else, right here, right now, paying attention, developing focus. So think of a lens, think of even us doing this. If either of our cameras or computers were blurry, or if you're watching, and this is where the word tuning came in, if you're watching Netflix or if you're watching television, you need to have a clear picture. You need a good focus. The lens needs to be focused. For example, on my last phone, my lens got very damaged, and so it was quite grainy. So and obviously on a phone you can't change your focus like you can on a camera. So it's only by this stopping process that one can adjust the focus to create a clear picture
I love it.
of
Yes.
what your life is all about.
Oh, I love it. I love
Very
it.
simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
Adrian, tell everyone how they can learn about you and contact you and
Okay, so my
into
website
your
is
retreat.
adrianemery.com. Yeah,
Yes.
adrianemery.com. TaoTuning is going to be released next week, September the 17th, on Amazon. As I said before, it's very simple. It's not complicated, although there is a lot in it, but it is a manual on how to live your life well. I also do blogs on my website. There's a lot of information, and obviously from the website you can find my Instagram and Facebook. I will be developing more material on YouTube. At the moment, it's embryonic. I'm a baby boomer, so becoming digitally proficient is a challenge.
Yeah.
But I'm doing my best to get my message out, because I believe that humanity is at the crossroads.
Adrian, so people can connect and they can come to your retreat center. How does
Sure.
that
Yeah.
work? Is it like
Well,
you
it's
come
just
for a week or?
whatever. Yeah, it operates as a guest house. So you just go online. It's called Rustic
Oh,
Spirit. Make a booking. Come along. I'm not pushing at the moment any retreats, as in meditation or anything like that. I am uh, focusing on the power of nature. So it's in a beautiful environment. We back onto national park, and we really focus on just allowing the power of nature. And again, this stopping. So our theme is disconnect to reconnect. In other words,
love it.
disconnect from the digital, fast-paced world to reconnect with yourself, to reconnect with nature, to reconnect with your own divinity. So disconnect to reconnect. And I don't really want to push my spiritual beliefs or principles on anyone, because all of my teaching is about find it from within yourself. Your truth is your truth. I mean, I do like that saying of Christ, I am the way, the truth, and the light. But the way that I look at that is I am the way and the truth and the light for me. You are the way and the truth and the light for you. We all, each and every one of us, has our own divinity, has our own path, and we need to find that from within. So I have become less and less willing to I mean, I obviously do have my own spiritual beliefs and all the rest of it, but that, to me, that's all irrelevant. I'm saying you, by contacting your inner truth,
Yes.
can find everything that
Oh,
you need to know to make your life
thank
work.
you so much. I'm so sad to have to say goodbye. Oh, this has been so great. Thank you so much, everyone. Adrian, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, dear.